Hello and welcome. You're listening to Adventures in the Vale, an RPG discussion podcast. I'm Jake.
I'm Ross.
Sit back and relax by the fire, for there are tales to be told.
Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Cozy Crow. Come and sit by our fire. May I get you something to drink?
Yeah. I'll take an ale.
I'll have that right out.
Mausritter is a swords and whiskers pencil and paper role-playing game by Isaac Williams and Losing Games. It won the Best Family Game Ennies Award in 2021, and if you've seen it, it's easy to see why. In Mausritter, you take on the role of tiny mouse adventurers, seeing what it is to be small in a massive world. Blades of grass become towering trees blocking sight across yards of travel that could be like miles to little mouse feet. Ladybugs and fireflies become strange alien visitors who might be friend or foe. Cats and owls are beasts of absolute terror, like dragons that could ravage your village and everything you know. The game is incredibly simple and similar to Into the Odd. The box set comes with digest-sized, high-quality cardstock character sheets and little detachable items mice might use, like toothpicks and matches for torches. Items can be placed into slots such as main paw and off paw, and your mouse backpack holds 6 items. Your mouse has strength, dexterity, willpower, and hit points. Once your hit points are depleted, you reduce your stats until your mouse perishes, and then it only takes moments to roll up a new mouse. Damage occurs automatically on an attack. Magic is dangerous and unpredictable. All of the rules of the game that are used regularly at the table fit on a single rules reference card. Mausritter is not a game about daring exploits alone, but survival, cooperation, and caring for other mice. You gain XP by finding shiny objects called pips, and you get extra XP when you help your mouse community by giving them pips to help them grow and survive. The book is one of the most densely packed for its size I've ever seen, quickly able to generate adventures for mice and other neat things like mice backgrounds including worm wranglers, beetle herders, and bat cultists. Simple step-by-step instructions for crafting a nearby wilderness, a sanctuary, and an adventure site. More than any other OSR or NSR type of book, I feel someone could start using this book from page 1 with no experience and generate a campaign with months of play on the fly. Player and GM advice is given simply and directly without lots of RPG jargon. Mausritter is one of my favorite tabletop role-playing games, and I recommend it often for both families and as a starting RPG if the topic is interesting to the players. Best of all, it's completely free at Mausritter.com. If you like the idea of being a small mouse adventurer in a big dangerous world, Mausritter is a must-play. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thrilled to be here. I hope you're doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing really good. Last night we were playing Shadow Dark, which that's a hoot, and we're testing it out in some old modules. This will be our 3rd Shadow Dark campaign, so I'll be working on some impressions and material for Shadow Dark coming up, and it was Shadow Darky. The lights went out on them, and orcs attacked them in the dark, and it was spooky. It was a good pre-Halloween game. But so what have you been doing lately in your hobby? What's been going on with that?
I mean, I'm a busy dad, so my game time's super light these days. Even with that said, though, I am getting some good games here and there. The 5e group that I had been running, we swapped one of my players into DM, so I actually get to play now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So apart from that, I'm also gearing up for a big in-person Halloween game this year, so super excited about that. I've created like this fun little adventure where it's going to be like a evil child that shrinks some party goers down into like her little dollhouse of horrors. So
Oh
it'll
wow.
be like, yeah, it's like a pretty wild little like body horror / witchcraft sort of horror. So it'll be like a survival game. I think I'm going to use DM Scotty's Easy D6 for most of the core mechanics, but there's actually a few elements since everyone will be so small. Some of the elements and the items will be inspired by today's topic game, Mausritter.
Oh right, yeah. That's really exciting. Um, and for a while there, you were kind of like a forever DM. Like you were doing a lot of 5e and doing the DM thing and not getting to play. So it's really cool to hear that you get to play now.
I know it's so exciting when you like start to be the DM and inspire these people to join the hobby, and then they get inspired to kind of run their vision with it now. So it's kind of like that your successes are my successes kind of thing, and it's just so exciting. So I'm really thrilled to be a part of it.
That's great. Okay. Why did you agree to play Mausritter? Because it was one of our looking for group kind of things in the play club. I was like, hey, who wants to play Mausritter? Who wants to play a mouse and you will probably die? And you'll have to roll up more mice and you'll be completely helpless. Who wants to do that? And then you were like, yeah, I want to do that.
I mean, that sales pitch was enough for me right there. No, it looked fun. I know when you were first kind of pitching it, I went and pulled the rules and was like, wow, this is really cool. You know, I saw a lot of the influences that it was sort of built on. I saw like some of their like film and TV and book references that they kind of had at heart. So
Like
really,
what?
for me, I was a huge Ghibli fan, so like Arrietty was one of the ones that
Oh,
they called. Uh, then the whole thing kind of had like that red wall kind of vibe, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
even stuff like I don't know. I grew up watching Chippendale Rescue Rangers, so like
I,
yeah,
I hadn't even thought of Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, but that's a great point. It hadn't even occurred to me that it was that it had some of that energy too.
yeah. I mean, just the way it was written, it was just really exciting to kind of see, and then systematically just thinking small. Like so many things about the system kind of encourage that. Like instead of like trying to roll that nat 20, it's like you do better with small numbers here. So just between the inspirations and then like how they actually put it all together, I was like, yeah, let me sign up to be a mouse. Let's do this.
Was that our first time that we played together, or did we play in some other games? Because that was almost a couple of years ago now that we played Mausritter.
Yeah, I've been a member of Mythic Mountains for a good long while now. I think I started joining you guys back in 2020. And this one I want to say we did like a year or so ago, but it was our first time playing Mausritter, but it was not our first time playing together. I think you and I had done some I know I did Otherworld with you. I think that was like BX and OSE, and then I think we did a Five Torches Deep before we did Mausritter 2.
Oh, okay. Okay, so here we are. We're about to play Mausritter. You were playing with Steve. And you had beetle mounts. You rode into Stumpsville on beetles, and you're going to investigate what's happening at Stumpsville. What happens when you get there? Like what what is it like in play once you arrive at the adventure location? And what was your first impression of like the first few things that happen?
Wow, I mean, I guess just kicking off, that was the first time Steve and I had ever like met or played together. So it was really cool how we kind of developed this energy pretty quick in this little mouse world. I think, initially getting into it, you do all the prep psychologically to go from human sized to mouse sized, but really getting into that for the first time and kind of thinking that through, it's a whole different psychology. And it was very interesting. I think it really sunk in when we managed to find that giant mouse trap. There was this huge piece of cheese, and we discovered like some mechanism in the cheese, and we're just like, oh, okay, well that's weird. And you know, somehow or another, I think we eventually set it off by throwing something at it, and then just seeing the whole mechanic of this giant mousetrap just flipping and crashing and whooshing. Just it made such a huge impact to be something that it's a relatively mundane thing. So initially, I think that did good to set the tone of that. We are really small in this world.
Right.
So.
Right, because if you're a mousetrap is this horrific, gigantic, mechanism of death.
Yeah. So I mean, that set the tone early, and I think adventure-wise, it was just the two of us. We just had our beetles. We were kind of checking this place out, and it was like, okay, well, let's do some light reconnaissance, but we're gonna duck out if anything even starts to get hairy. I mean, we were mice, so it was already hairy. But if it was to get hairier, we were ready to. But no, I think while we were in there, we set off the mousetrap. We managed to find an enemy rat faction that we fought. We did a little bit of deception play with that faction. It was pretty wild. And then it was my own personal horror. I run horror games and body horror and all these things, but my own personal horror was discovered in the form of a giant snake. I remember,
Right.
you pulled the art on for, there's a big snake in this room, and I'm like, that's it, I'm done. I'll talk vampires all day, but no, that's it. So it ended up being a really fun game. We survived the whole time, even with that snake in place. I mean, it was very, very wild. I think the one casualty was an old hero that we managed to save in the town we arrived in, but he sacrificed himself to the snake to save us. So it was a wild adventure for it was right under 2 hours, I think, that we played. So
Yeah,
so fast.
yeah, and the adventure was done in about 2 hours. That's right.
Yep.
All right, so when I first saw this, actually, I have the box right here, and I think it says, here it is, best family game. And I thought, okay, this game would be great if you're under 10. If you're young, this would be pretty cool. So I ran it for a bunch of 8-year-old boys, and it was chaos. One of them wanted a mouse girlfriend. One of them kept trying to fight the other mice. And I don't claim to be experienced with running games for kids, but it was chaos. And we had a good time, but one thing about this game is you could also die, and maybe even brutally so. I'm sure you don't have to depict that, and it depends on who you're running games with. But I mean, what do you think? If you were to run this for your kids, would you do it? And if so, how would you do it? Especially with your experience with Easy D6 over the past year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, this one really segued me into the rules light world. So I've been exploring a lot of the different ones, and I think one of the things that really makes Mausritter so great for newer TTRPGers or kids is the tangibility. Mausritter, when we ran it, we kind of treated it like a pen and paper. We had our dice, we had our character sheets, but I think as a game, you've got plenty of little cards that you can put in, and kind of like a character sheet that's more like a little grid that you can put things on top of, so you have that tangibility of things. And I think that adds a lot for younger gamers, because it makes it like, oh, I have this, or I have this. And because you have an item, or an object that you hold that represents that item, it's like, oh, okay, well, I've got this thing and this thing and this thing, and it's a different feeling because you have something you can hold versus just seeing a list of things that you have to conceptualize off of a character sheet. So I think in that aspect, it's great for kids. To your point on death, there's some folks that would probably like a lighter experience. There's other households that teach with Watership Down, or
Oh yeah, good
other
point.
yeah, it just depends on what kind of, I guess, how you raise your kids, and what your comfort level is. If I was running with kids I've never met before, I would probably go the lighter angle, the more Rescue Rangers vibe with it. But with my own kids, they see things. They have grandparents that haven't made it, so they're familiar with death pretty early. So I don't think it's necessarily a horrible experience to see that things die. But that's going to vary mileage based on who's running it. But no, I think all in all, like you said, if you need to tweak those rules, they're tweakable. I mean, anything's technically hackable, but this one, with the way it's written, that would probably be the easiest piece to adjust. Um, but no, I mean, all in all, I mean, I think the tone of the game, just how much of it is written into the rules, is a really warm and a really cozy experience to kind of teach a kid with. Yeah, there's death. Yeah, there's scary stuff going on, but Mausritter kind of differs in that its EXP structure is based on you get all this treasure, and the more treasure you give to the community of mice dictates how much you actually gain as a hero yourself. So I think little things like that, it just makes it feel really warm, almost kind of like a like Hobbity in a way. You just got that warm, cozy community feel, and I think it's got a lot of values that are good just for anyone to keep a group cohesive and playing, nice guys. But for kids especially, kind of having that and having that reward structure, purposefully built, helps kind of develop that mentality of I shouldn't be a scumbag Steve. I should be a nice little mouse.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I love that. I love that you give your pips, your little shiny bits, to the community, shiny objects that you find. And that's how you can get more XP. And then there are all these rules about gathering bands of mice. And it's obviously a very cooperative game, like most minimalist and OSR types of games are. But I'd never really thought of it as Rescue Rangers. So that's that. See, I wish I had had that talk with you like a year ago when I ran for those kids, because that's a really neat idea. It would be very easy to be a little looser with the rules, as loose as they are, and allow for a degree of heroism that if they simply choose to do something heroic, maybe allow them to succeed, which is a little contrary to the lethality of the source games that this game kind of arose from. But who cares? That would be fun. Rescue Rangers. I wish I'd thought about that. That's a good point. Are there any projects that you're working on right now for tabletop games? And if there is anything tabletop related that's going on that you want to show off, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm the type of person, I'm always shower thinking, always noodling away at some fun stuff. It takes me forever to get anything great to the table, just because I'm in a really busy phase of life right now, and I'm kind of scatterbrained anyway. But I am pretty active in our Mythic Mountains Discord server. Chris, a moderator there, so anybody who reaches out to us there, I'm always happy to engage with. I'm also pretty active in the EasyD6 Discord server right now. I've been doing a lot there, just chatting with folks, seeing what they're doing, seeing what all's out there, helping people frame up ideas and storyboard their worlds, or figure out, in my experience of exploring rules light or rules heavy, what tools from which system work best for what you're trying to do. I think Mausritter has been a really awesome one to kind of open the door for me for that. And then with roleplay systems as a whole, I think too many people of them think of them in I have to do everything XYZ per this one rule book, when I think of them more like everyone is like a box of Legos. You can build the rocket ship that's on the cover for a specific game, or you can go and mix it with the car box and the house box, and maybe just build something really cool on your own. So, that's sort of me. That's my thoughts. But yeah, that's where I'm at in the space right now, I guess.
That's such an easy D6 thing to say, too. Which is not a bad thing. I think it's really cool that, beyond being a player and talking about running for kids or families or who this would be a good fit for, you're saying that as a designer and a game master, it provided a pathway and aperture into design and minimalism, and then you went into Easy D6, which is really cool. I got to play in one of your Easy D6 games. It was my first Easy D6 game, and I had a great time. I'll include links to the DM Scotty's Discord server in the details, as well as Mythic Mountain's RPG Discord server. So if people want to chat, they can find us there. Chris, I really appreciate. I miss getting to talk to you. I'm glad that we had the time to just get to sit and talk for a while and talk about RPGs.
Heck yeah, I love this. So these little mini sessions that I can catch, or if you ever run any of those Shadow Darks in one-shot format, I want to hear about that. That's one I've been really excited to kind of see some play on, so definitely hit me up.
That's a good point. A Shadow Dark one-shot is not something we've done. We should do that, yeah. And, well, great. Yeah, I appreciate it very much. Mythic Mountains RPG is a private online play club that focuses on folk RPGs. Folk RPGs are the games that belong to all of us. They're what actually happens at a table between friends. It's their voice that has the authority on what is fun and what works for them. Weekly, we upload our games to allow others to sit in with us. The channel isn't monetized. We don't own the artwork, music, software, or games shown in these actual plays, and you can find links to their authors in the description. Like, subscribe, and share if you wish, or don't. Just like games in person, you're welcome to pull up a chair, sit in, and watch some of our games. No performances, no fancy equipment, just regular people playing folk pencil and paper role-playing games and having a good time. We hope these games will prove a source of enjoyment to anyone just wanting to listen in, anyone looking for examples of how actual groups run and play folk RPGs, and most importantly, if you haven't found your group yet, you're welcome here at ours.